Selena, Elena, Princess Cat, long farewell. I before the sun. Oh, I believe the hundreds of heaven. Oh, miracle
That was the message and a Christmas carol from the children in the squatter camp at Umtuntwini on the south coast of South Africa. These children will later send a message of thanks to us and all the listeners for all the shows that we've done, for giving them a Merry Christmas. I thought that we might change the program up a little bit today, leave the doom and gloom for one day behind us. There is plenty in South Africa right now that we could talk about, but I don't think that today is a good day to do that. So today, I have invited a friend of mine in South Africa to join us and talk to you about a South African Christmas, because it struck me how strange it must be for people in this hemisphere to think about people running around on the beach barefoot and getting a suntan on Christmas Day. Most of you wouldn't even know that that is how it is in South Africa. So today, I welcome you to a South African Christmas. And hello to my guest, Maureen Dunmore, all the way from sunny South Africa. Hi, Maureen.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fabulous, thank you. A little bit cold, and you say you're overheating. Could you explain what today is like in South Africa? Because right here we're hip deep in snow and freezing.
Well, here it's between 32 and 38 degrees in Gauteng province, and I'm in Pretoria, the capital city, and here it was 34 today, so it's quite hot.
Yeah, that's us in America. That's for us in America. That's almost 100 degrees, so it is rather warm out there.
That's correct. All the fans are going, and lots of ice in the drinks, and very skimpy clothes at home. Out on the street, we wear a little more.
Yeah.
But one tries to be as cool as possible at home, and obviously one doesn't feel like doing very much.
No, I haven't been gone from South Africa that long that I remember Christmas was on the beach, and then I came here. Close to Christmas, I arrived here, and it was snowing. And well, we don't have that in South Africa, so I was absolutely thrilled with a white Christmas. And I was running around outside barefoot, trying to catch snowflakes on my tongue, and having a marvelous time. But 5 years later, I'm feeling the cold. So, Maureen, could you tell us about how South Africa is leading up to Christmas? Just how the feeling is and what people are doing this week before Christmas.
Well, I'm going to go back as far as September, because that's when some stores start to bring out all the Christmas trimmings. Towards the end of September, October, we start to see the small signs of the Christmas preparations. And then by the end of October, beginning of November, there's quite a lot. And I think this has to do with the way South Africa is, because we shut down most of the factories, and big business closed down in that first and second week of December. And so schools will have Christmas parties, Christmas concerts for the children. And so the Christmas feeling starts getting along a little earlier, I think, than in other places where it's cold. And then because we had this big shutdown, I mean, the universities and the schools and colleges all closed because it's the end of the school year. So exams happen up into the first week of December, and then the schools close. And then schools open in the second week of January, and universities only open in February. So, and then big business and factories close from the 15th. Traditionally, the 15th, everybody just disappears out of the city. All the workers, the miners, the construction workers, the engineers, all those kinds of people, they all seem to move out of the cities, and it becomes quite quiet once.
Isn't it a pleasure? Isn't it a pleasure then, Maureen? Because I remember in
Yes.
Johannesburg, if you did not go away in December, which in the last couple of years people have not been doing, but if you did not go away in December, suddenly the streets were empty of traffic. There weren't all these blacks descending on your car on the street corners. But Joburg was a wonderful place to be in December because everybody had left.
Yes, that's correct. It becomes very peaceful. Um, there's no there's no noise. The noise levels drop dramatically, and we find that you can actually, if you wanted to take a walk, it's easier to take a walk. Where before, if you wanted to take a walk in the evening, it could be quite dangerous.
Mm.
Uh, so that is a big plus, and also um, the stores. They're very busy right up to Christmas, but between Christmas and New Year, it calms down a lot, and it's very quiet in the evenings and on weekends. Because we don't have stores open until very late. The stores are open until about 10, I would say, 9, 10, some of them. But in recent years, there was a time when they would be open very late, and in recent years that has stopped because of the crime factor.
Yes, in America, one of the things that also stunned me when I got here, you can go shopping 24 hours every day. It doesn't matter what day it is, you can go and shop all day and all night. Now, in South Africa, we do not have that. Our shops close generally pretty early in the evening. They roll up the pavements, and that's the end of the day. It's very strange. For you, for instance, the shops stay open till 9 or 10, but that is only over the Christmas season. It's not a normal thing, is it?
No, it's not. It's only over Christmas, and I must admit, the hours that my local mall stores were open has definitely reduced by at least an hour to an hour and a half. We're not having the stores being open. The Christmas season shopping hours have definitely shortened. There aren't as many people in the stores as well as one. It's hectic, but not as bad as it used to be.
And
It
then
seems as though a lot of people have gone away.
your the biggest travel day in the United States is before Thanksgiving. Everybody goes home to their mom, dad, grandma, grandpa. Everybody goes to family. It's the biggest travel day in the United States. You cannot get a plane for love or money if you haven't booked months in advance. But in South Africa, the 16th and 17th generally of December are the biggest travel days in that country. Everybody packs up their goods. Most of the black people who've been working in the cities, they pack up everything that they've collected over the year and they head home to their homelands. And could you describe how these bakkies, which is a small pickup, how they are packed, Maureen? It's just too funny.
Yes, it's incredible. The height is, they managed, most of them managed to keep it just below the bridges they have to travel under. It's anything from chickens in cages to bags of oranges to mattresses to bundles of clothing, to vegetables and canned goods, and the odd young person clinging on for dear life. You know, it's wheelbarrows, you name it, anything that is movable goes with.
It is the
And
funniest sight, isn't it?
it really is. I mean, I've seen people going along with donkeys on the top of loads of, donkeys that have been hobbled and tied down on top of the loads of, bedding, furniture, you name it. Anything that they can cart
And
with.
as you say, they pile it so high that
Yes,
the overpasses and the bridges are only an inch or two above the top of that load, and everything is tied on with rope. And as you say, the occasional little pickaninny hanging on for dear life. It is the
that's
most
right.
incredible sight.
Yes, and nobody seems to think it's anything much of it. You know, yeah, I mean, I've seen dogs, I've seen um, sheep, I've seen a calf, tied to the top of these. Anything that's alive and needs to breathe goes on top.
On the top, yes. And the back of the pickup is so low because it's so heavy. It's almost
Yes,
touching the ground. I'm always amazed why the front of the big buggy doesn't lift up because it is such a precarious business and such a sight to see literally thousands of these leaving the cities. I mean, you you would be stupid to travel towards on the road to Zimbabwe, for instance, on those
yes.
2 or 3 days of the year, because everything that has wheels hits that road. They are going home for Christmas.
They travel at a snail's pace as well. You can't pass them for fear of these loads that are hanging at a 30-degree angle either to the left or to the right, topple and fall on top of you. Um, yes, it's actually very scary.
It is.
some of them even some of them even hook a trailer and fill that to the same height. It's really, or otherwise they'll have livestock in the trailer, or people,
But
which is highly
yes,
illegal.
but they'll pack them in. As many as they can get packed in there. Every spare corner is filled, either with goods or with people.
That's correct.
And then, as I say, everything with wheels, anything with wheels hits the road and heads for the homelands for Christmas. And then the cities are quiet and still and empty. But they're beautiful. I don't know if they still are. Maureen, do the cities still get decorated by the municipalities as beautifully as they
Not
used to?
really, not like I used to remember it when I was younger or as a child. I haven't seen any. What does happen though in Pretoria is people do their own homes with lights, and then we have the Jacaranda Children's Home. They do a festival of lights, and one pays an entrance fee, and that's how they fundraise for the children in the home. And then there are houses in the wealthier areas like Waterkloof, and that area up in Waterkloof and near Waterkloof, there's a lot of houses. The people seem to compete with each other to see who can have the best displays, and that people actually trawl along hours in the roads up there to go and have a look. We went last year. We don't know if we're going this year, but we went last year, and it was actually quite a sight to see. But the city itself, the municipality, does not endorse putting up lights or prettying up the city for Christmas.
But you,
Christmas is now no longer being called Christmas. Yeah, it's being called the holidays.
uh,
So
uh,
all the TV stations, no Merry Christmas. It's all they'll play a few Merry Christmas songs, but mostly it's Happy Holidays.
oh wow! I didn't realize that because that is happening here. You don't have Christmas trees, you have holiday trees. It's a very, very sad thing, because in my mind, that's taking the Christ out of Christmas. And it's very, very sad that, because but on the other hand, you do have the jacaranda trees in full bloom, don't you?
Well,
Or are
not
they
so much. Now, they bloom in October and into November, but now most of the flowers have fallen. There's the odd tree that's a bit late, but there's not many purple trees now at this stage.
So leading up to Christmas, you have that beautiful, I think it's the only country in the world that has that mass of purple. The whole city almost turns purple when the jacaranda trees blossom. And you drive down these long, wide avenues. Well, they're not well kept anymore, but they are wide avenues of these beautiful, beautiful purple trees everywhere. It is such a lovely sight, isn't it?
And of course, the students have this tradition. They believe that if the jacaranda flowers fall on your head, you will pass your exam.
Really?
Yes, it's been for many years. It's been the tradition, and even when I was a student, we actually at one stage they wanted to remove the jacaranda trees because it's considered an invasive plant because it takes so much water.
Yes.
And they wanted to remove them, and the students were up in arms in Pretoria, and eventually they gave in and left the trees. But at that time, it was sheer luck that if you had jacaranda, you would walk those avenues so that you would get the petals to fall on your head, the flowers to fall on your head.
Oh, that's a beautiful tradition, isn't it?
Yes,
I think that's really lovely, because that I definitely.
Did you know that there were white jacarandas? Not many, but there are some places where there's the odd white jacaranda that just came up amongst purple ones. Yes.
I remember when Ray first came to Johannesburg, the trees were just blooming then, and he absolutely loved the fact that we had these purple avenues all over the place, because it is the most stunning sight, and I really can't think of anywhere else in the world where they have that.
No. I don't know of any other country where, any other city that has that masses of flowers. And, it's like a carpet. It's like a thick carpet. It's a very prolific flowering tree. And it has hardly any leaves when it flowers. So you just see this masses. And then from the air, it's just amazing.
It's the most beautiful, beautiful sight. And that always, for me, always led into the Christmas spirit, because it was such a feeling of rebirth and beauty and freshness, and it just led into Christmas somehow for me. I started getting excited because Christmas is my favorite time of year. I started getting excited when those trees blossom, because it's just so pretty. It is like Christmas decorations almost.
Almost, yes. And then, of course, with it comes the summer fruits.
Yes.
So we would have we have at this time of the year lots of watermelon. And I mean, you have in our family, we lop the watermelons, those round watermelons, in half, and we give the kids a spoon. And they will just sit and gorge themselves on watermelon, and then, run about chasing each other with the skins, and then dive to the pool. We actually put the watermelon in the pool to stay cold.
And that's what I was going to say. You have to speak about that. The watermelons floating in the swimming pool in this shimmering heat to keep them cool before you cut them. I mean, that is also such a traditional Christmassy thing, to see those green things bobbing in the swimming pool. It's lovely.
Yes, and visitors from overseas. We had folks from Holland one year, and they were surprised at these watermelons floating in the pool. But we were going to have quite a few guests where we were visiting, and we had thrown, I think, something like 6 watermelons in the pool, and they understand why the watermelons were in the pool. It was only when dessert came that they realized why.
Yes, yes.
That the chlorine would affect them if the skins are way too thick.
And then you don't even waste the skins because you make watermelon confit, watermelon
Preserve.
preserves, which is
With
an Afrikaner tradition.
That's correct. And we have it, we put ginger in as well. And that's a delight that you have right into like August. And by the time it's finished, it's almost time for the new watermelon season again.
It's a lovely, sugary, syrupy sauce that they are bottled in. And you wouldn't think that a skin of a watermelon could taste great. But oh, that is the most delicious thing you could have when it's made properly. And that hint of ginger is just so, so nice. And then you can take your summer into winter with you.
That's correct. We enjoy it a lot during the winter. There's nothing nicer than having a hot bowl of soup, and then thick slices of bread and this preserve on the bread afterwards. We cut it in tiny blocks, and then it's like almost like a jam.
Yes.
That we spread on the bread.
Yes. Now, is that a Dutch, or do you know what the origin of that is?
Yes, that is a Dutch. It is a Dutch thing. It's a Dutch thing. I know that in my mother's family, we did all those, like the Cook sisters as well. And I mean, that's also traditional at Christmas, the Cook sisters.
Explain that, please.
Cook sisters is a platted dough. It's a light dough that's quite flexible, and we make a syrup, and we make the syrup ice cold, and then you fry the deep fry the Cook sister in hot oil, and then you dunk it immediately into the syrup, and that causes the syrup then it not only sucks right into the dough, but it makes a crispy outer layer. And so when you bite into it, you have this crispy outer and the soft, juicy, syrupy inner. And that's often served at Christmas time. Because it's expensive to make, the syrup is expensive to make.
Yes.
We use it for weddings, and we use it at Christmas time. It's very well liked, for a Christmassy type of dessert as well.
They're so lovely because you bite into them and that syrup just spurts all over your chin and messy, but lovely.
That's right. That's true. And then, of course, the traditional Christmas fare these days is braai. Everybody gets together, and the women compete amongst each other to see who can find the choicest cold cut meats and the most exotic salads. I mean, we've had salads made with sweet corn and biltong, and we've had salads made with all kinds of things, and then with the cold meat, and then obviously you would have braai as well. And then we have what is known as a braai broodjie. And braai broodjie is it's like a toasted sandwich, but put on barbecue, and you just don't have it, especially during the rugby season. And then of course we have sports over Christmas. We have cricket. Just on the New Year, the 26th of December, the cricket starts, and then we usually have international cricket. One-day series, or something like that. We would have cricket on the 26th of December. So people look forward to that as well. But as far as the food and people going away, I mean, most people go down to Durban. Lots of black people go to Durban. I mean, they go by the busloads. And it's gotten so hectic in Durban itself and down on the south parts of the south coast that it's completely overrun. And so they've resorted to numbering the children, and keeping lists of contacts with the parents. So you wouldn't be allowed on the beach if the children weren't marked with a number. And that number is on a register of contact details, because year after year the children are get lost and separated from the parents on the beaches and end up in social services care, and sometimes for days, and sometimes sadly some of them are just abandoned there. So they come down to the beach for the Christmas time, and especially New Year. I'm not quite sure what it is that makes them go there at New Year, but I know they carry away bottles of seawater, and I know that they drink that and they sell it. So it's harvested at New Year, and they would then, the children would just be to their own devices.
Yeah, I've seen the reports every year of so many children, just their parents went home and left them behind. That is a very, very sad thing. And you won't find very many white faces on the beaches anymore, because it's just so jam-packed full of people that you can't even find a place to put your towel.
Well, the folks that live there, they actually go into hiding because they say it's just not safe. They have to up their security measures all the time, and make sure that their animals are protected and things like that. So it's really it's hectic down at the coast. I don't think I would go at all with my family, unless it was somewhere secluded or less exposed.
Yes.
Up north coast or further down south, or where people have these areas that are secluded, where people don't go. Yes, but in the city here, people don't have much choice to go many places apart from places like Fountains Valley is also overrun. It's not safe to go there anymore.
Especially New Year's Day.
Yes.
Everybody, mostly they're coming home from the coast then, because work and school, work is about to start at New Year. So the big trek comes back from the coast and from inland, from the homelands and from wherever they've gone home. And the whole thing happens in reverse. And then on New Year's Day, the cities are full, the parks are full, everywhere is just masses of people.
Yes, and it gets hectic in the stores as well. Because now it's back to school, and people are trying to get together what they should have done at the end of the previous year. Everything that should have been done is left for the last minute, and then have to go along and try to buy uniforms and school books and school provisions, and some even admitting their children to schools for the last minute. And yes, so we have a lot of, in the new year, we have a lot of talk about those things that are going on, and a lot of media coverage of children not being able to be admitted to schools in spite of living in the area of the school, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of that goes on. But over Christmas time, it's quiet and peaceful here in the city itself. We do have fireworks at New Year, but that's usually at in the middle of the night.
Yes, at midnight.
And then over Christmas, the 24th at night, people go to church, and then some of us go to midnight mass in the Catholic Church, and then some of us go to the early morning church services in the traditional Reformed churches, the Dutch Reformed Church and the Hervormde Church. They all have early morning Christmas services, and yes, so most people that are religious would then attend their church services, and then during the day they would either go to places like, if they were wanting to picnic, they would go to the botanical gardens or to places that are well frequented. Can't think of too many, but we have places like Wonderboom, where there's a remarkable tree. It's got 7 daughter trees growing onto the same tree, and that's why it's called Wonderboom. That's a picnic area, and there's one of the forts. Pretoria had 5, I think, forts around the city in the days of the voortrekkers, and it has one of the forts on the top of this hill, so many people climb to the top and come down. That's something that you see there. Also over the Christmas period, people go there. So, but there are not a lot of really safe places to go if you wanted to go out. So most folks will go off to a restaurant for a meal which they booked months ahead, or otherwise stay home or visit with friends close by. But most people
I
stay
just
home.
quickly have to do a station ID. Then we're going to play a song by a very, very great South African loving group, and we will get back. We'll come back and talk about the preparations the day before and on Christmas Day itself. You're listening to Radio Free South Africa on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. And we have a special for you today. From midnight yesterday to Monday the 21st of December, we're running a trifecta Silver Rush Christmas special. There's a choice of a 1-ounce silver bar on $50 donation, a 2015 Silver Eagle uncirculated brilliant on a $75 donation, or a 5-ounce silver round of a $200 donation. Shipping is only in the continental USA, and add $15 for overnight shipping if you want it before Christmas. This keeps us running, and this will give you a wonderful, wonderful silver Christmas present for yourself or for one of your loved ones.
I want to thank Auntie Karin for helping us. My mommy and daddy don't have money for food, but this Christmas we will have food because of you and all the radio show hosts. Thank you from us kids in South Africa.
Born into this world, birthed by a virgin girl, shepherd's love down on him, this baby born for our sins. Into Egypt they escaped, Herod's wrath was so great. The holy innocents died for him, this baby born for our sins. Where once was darkness, there's light, for the stars shone bright. His father smiled down on us, this baby born for our sins. A man he became, he healed the deaf and the lame. He died and rose long ago, this baby born for our sins. He died and rose long ago, this baby born for our sins. this baby born for our sin.
That is a song by Ed Begley and Tattoo Billy from their album South of Dixie. Ed, also known as White Tiger Begley, did a boxing match to raise funds on behalf of the Boers in South Africa that are suffering. And that band, who went through a very bad time last year, and I pray that the next one is better for them. They lost one of their members, who is Ed's father. But they are very, very, very pro-South African and do a lot of work for the South African community, for which I thank them. And I also thank them for their permission to use their music on this program. So, Maureen, we were talking about Christmas. So now, the day before Christmas, I know in South Africa that we do most of the work the day before. So that Christmas day itself, we can go to church and just celebrate the day with our family, because it is a big family day in South Africa as it is here in the States. So what kind of preparations will you be doing on Christmas Eve?
Well, we're going to be about 9 people, and what we're having is called turducken. It's turkey that is stuffed with a duck, in turn stuffed with a chicken.
Wow.
And we probably will have gammon or cold or corned beef with it. Sometimes we have tongue, beef tongue, and that's a favorite with my family. And then we would do. We haven't quite decided whether we're going to go the hot meal or with the cold salads. And do the meats cold. It all depends. At this moment in time, it looks like it's going to be even hotter. So we might be doing, then I will prepare the meat even 2 days before and put it into the freezer and defrost on the morning of Christmas Day, because of the risk of, it's just too hot.
Yes.
And then also, one doesn't want to be standing in front of a hot stove on the morning of Christmas. I think, nobody wants mum to be at the stove. So that's basically, and then dessert, because I'm from Irish extraction, I have that. I love the fruit pudding and the fruit cake, but my family loves trifle, so we do a very, very decadent trifle, and obviously I can prepare some of my salads, like the potato salad, and there's a rice salad that we do with lentils and so on. So we do that the day before, because it's always nicer the next day, and then I will do fresh salad on the morning of.
Maureen, we're losing you. It sounds like a tornado blowing on your side. I think shall I ring off from you and call you back, or
perhaps you can try that?
Hang on, it's going away. That's much better. It's much quieter. I don't know if you have the fan running.
No, it's not. I don't know what it is. We've closed the door. We've closed the door. There is a bit of a wind outside.
Yeah, it sounds like an enormous wind blasting through there. It's quietened down now, so I can hear you. Because at one stage there, I couldn't even hear you. Sorry, you were talking about desserts because you come of Irish extraction.
Yes, I love, and some of my children like, the hot fruit pudding. And traditionally that gets coins in it when you cut it.
Yes.
And then, but I'm doing trifle this year. I'm doing a really decadent trifle with black cherries and mascarpone and so on. So I'm going to make it really decadent this year.
Oh, nice.
And cream and so on. So that's going to make a big difference. And then we serve that with, we do a punch. We do a really cold punch.
Yeah.
And, with lots of ice. And yes, we do have small snacks that people will have, like pretzels and, chips and dips.
Yes.
During the morning for the people who pop in, because it happens that friends pop in to come say hello or to drop off gifts for the children. In our family, mostly it's the children who get gifts, not the adults. And yes, it's become very, very expensive in South Africa now. And especially with so many white folk not being permanently employed. We create our own employment, basically, most of us.
Yes.
So it's become quite expensive, and we focus on birthdays more than Christmas gifts.
So, all right. So I come from a very mixed background because my dad was Dutch and my mom was a Scot, and I spent my young years until I was 8 mostly in Namibia, which was very German. So we kind of inherited some of the German traditions, which I still carry with me today, and my daughter does it as well. So what we had was a Christmas wreath, which goes on the table in the lounge, and it has 4 candles on it. And every Sunday before Christmas, the family sits down together, and we have champagne or mimosas or one of those things, and we play Christmas carols, and we have a family sort of gathering where you light a candle. So the first Sunday you light 1, the second Sunday you light 2, etc. And then on Christmas Day you light all of them. And we all sit around and have a thankfulness thing, that as they have a Thanksgiving in the USA, we would all have to say 3 or 4 things, the first week 1 thing, the second week 2 things that you were really thankful for, and you were not allowed to repeat it. So if you'd said, I'm glad to be living in South Africa the first week, you certainly couldn't use it again. So that was one of the traditions in my family. And also we put up the tree on the 12th of December because, on the 13th of December, because that gives you the 12 days of Christmas. And we would put up the tree then and take it down 12 days after Christmas. But we had the tree and we had snowflakes stuck to our windows and Christmas lights and all those beautiful things. And as we got older, we'd hand out the gifts at midnight. But when we were very small kids, we handed them out in the early hours of the morning. And it's a German tradition that the parents take the children out to look for Father Christmas on Christmas Eve. So all the children go with the dad or the mom, alternatively, and they drive the streets and stop everywhere and go into the highest hills and look for Father Christmas to come. While mom, of course, he comes to their house while they're away. And so when they get back, the presents are all under the tree. So I think once my grandchildren are a little older, we'll do that as well with them, but they're too young right now. So we do a mishmash of things in our family, but we do hang up our stockings on the mantelpiece, and he fills them with little gifts and things. We used to go carol singing. I don't think it's done anymore in South Africa. And of course, carols by candlelight. Do they still have that?
Yes, we do. We have a large park in our area at Reetondale, which is just behind the Union buildings, and just over the hill from the Union buildings. And every year they have masses of people there for carols by candlelight. And that's usually in the first week of December. They don't do it late into December. And yes, about trees and things like that, we don't do the tree. We have a very conservative, quiet kind of introspective kind of Christmas. Purely because we have particular religious feeling about that.
Yes.
And that's the way we celebrate our Christmas. Is very quiet and introspective, very, very gratefully, and very quiet. We don't do the bling, and yes, we used to, but it's been 7 years now that we don't do it.
In other words, like the whole history of the Boers, where they have celebrated and praised and prayed to, Patricia and I call it the god of Blood River, because he created such a miracle that day. We always refer to this powerful, merciful God that does listen to prayer. We refer to him as the god of Blood River. And so even in Christmas, where it has become very much a commercialized thing, the Afrikaner still keeps the Christ in Christmas and remembers the actual reason for Christmas, instead of making it a commercial gift giving and everybody jealous of everybody else because this one got a bigger gift than them.
Yes. What I do is I put an ornamental candle in the window for the wise men to follow the light and to bring Christ into our home.
Yes.
It's a little Irish tradition, I think. I'm not sure, but my parents did it, and so I do it. I put the candle in the window, and but we don't do the tree, and we don't do any fancy decorations and lights and things like that. We don't do the mistletoe. None of those. How can I say, commercialized things?
Yes, absolutely.
It's not sad. It's not sad. It's just we've done away with all that, all the trimmings. But we still is celebrated as Christmas, and we still, people have a good time. We enjoy having with family around. Yes, it's a very introspective time in the sense that we are very, very grateful. Another year that we've managed to keep going in spite of some people not having jobs. And then, of course, being involved in what we do, there are so many people out there who don't have, not even, maybe even know the date. I promise you, in the squatter camps and poverty-stricken people who have absolutely nothing. I just couldn't bring myself to be doing anything elaborate.
Absolutely, it feels like a slap in the face of the people that you are helping so much. We're coming up to an ad break, and during that break, I will call you back and see if we can get you clearer than you are. And in the second hour, we'll be joined by Patricia Aiken from Sacred Hupakal Barbecue. And she would like to ask you some questions and get you to teach her some Afrikaans. I don't know how successfully Americans can get their throat around the Afrikaans, because even I can't do it, and I grew up there. But it should be quite fun. And I just think it's wonderful to hear that you do a very quiet, very family and Christ orientated Christmas, where here Christmas is, yes, Christ is in Christmas, because Texans are very, very church-going people. They're mainly Baptists, is the biggest churches in Texas, and go to church on Christmas morning, of course. But as in Texas, everything is bigger and better. The houses are lighted up. I mean, Eskom would have a fit if you did that in South Africa. You'd have blackouts for the next month. But the houses here are lit up so beautifully. And I'm waiting for my husband to take me on a tour of the town at night so that I can have a look at them. Because, wow, man, I just find it so beautiful. Unfortunately, we haven't got snow in our town at the moment, so I don't think we're going to have a white Christmas. But those lights reflecting off the snow, and they put these big displays in their gardens. They have reindeer pulling the sleighs and Father Christmas and snowmen and all lit up in lights. It is the most incredible sight to see. But it is nice to see. In fact, it's reassuring to know that there are people who believe in the God of Blood River one more time and just spend Christmas thanking him for the birth of the Son and for giving us that wonderful gift, because nothing that we can give to each other will ever equal that. It can't come close to the gift we were given on Christmas Day.
That's so true. That's so true. Yes, now we prefer the very quiet, humble Christmas mostly because of the people we have to deal with daily. In this week, it becomes quite sad because at this moment we are waiting for donations to come in so that we can feed the masses.
But you did have a lovely Christmas party for the children.
Yes, we did. We did. But, there are many camps.
Yes. And you can't do it for all of them.
We can't do it for all of them, no.
But you know that little message that was played there, Auntie Karin and all the show hosts. Thank you, because we would not have had food this Christmas if all these hosts had not put out the message, and the kind, warm-hearted Americans had not donated. Those children would not have had food this Christmas. So although, yes, you are battling for donations.
Now we're looking for January. We're looking at January now.
Yes.
We're a month ahead.
Because you've got kids that need to go to school. And all of those things need to be seen to in January. But I am so pleased that little voice could say, my parents can't afford food, but thanks to the show hosts in America, we have got food this Christmas. And it still makes me cry. I've listened to it 4 or 5 times, and I'm still going to cry about it, because it is an amazing thing that just by putting our voices out there and speaking about these children, we have been able to touch hearts in America to such a degree that those children have got food and maybe a little bit of the Christmas spirit. Because I saw that one child that you called Happy Feet, dancing her as if her life depended on it. Such a happy child to have a meal and some music and a little party and a tiny gift. It was the most beautiful thing that I have seen in years. And to think that it is just voices like ours that made that possible. It is such a wonderful feeling, such a warm feeling to know that my voice and my guest's voice touch people's hearts, and there was the result of it. A little voice saying thank you so much. And for me, the fact that that child has got food is such a miracle from God.
I agree completely. Now we're always a month ahead. We're always, working on it.
And you're back with Radio Free South Africa. This is your host, Karin Smith. Our guest today is Maureen Dunmore, all the way from South Africa, and we are discussing a traditional South African Christmas. And joining us in the second hour is that slaughterer of sacred cows, Miss Patricia Aiken herself, who's come hungry and with a plate, who wants to discuss what we eat and how we do it, and what we say to each other. Welcome, Patricia.
Well, thank you so much, Karin, and it's so nice to meet you, Maureen.
Nice to meet you too, Patricia.
I just think it's so funny, Patricia, that we're talking about having barbecues, and here's the slaughterer of cows with her empty plate standing in line. It just fits together so very well.
You know, I was home a little bit homesick for Maui hearing you ladies talk about the jacarandas. You know, the first South Africans and Rhodesians I ever met were actually on Maui. They're folks, and now I see why they feel so at home there, because we have a big group of jacarandas. As a matter of fact, there are places on Maui that are actually known. You know, you say, okay, meet me at the Jacks at the Junction, and it's a certain place up country. Oh, they call it Five Trees because of the jacarandas, but the meet me at the Jacks at the Junction is, you know, where you meet people if you're gonna, you know, go off somewhere together.
Oh,
So,
wow.
and I just was so, you know, I just remember in the they bloom in the spring on Maui there, and there's a place on Kula Highway, upcountry Maui, where they form that tunnel that you ladies were talking about. And when the blossoms are on the ground, oh my God. And you can't even, driving through it is something, but when you do that bike down the mountain thing and you do it on a bike, it's just amazing to go through there. Oh,
It's true.
that was such a nice memory that you folks triggered for me today. Thank you.
It is so beautiful because some of the roads in South Africa are built wide enough to turn an ox wagon. So they're really, really wide roads and lined from beginning to end with these purple trees. It's just, and then when the flowers fall, you're literally ankle deep in purple. It's just so incredibly beautiful and something that you don't see in other countries at all. So,
Well, you know, I read that it was on Maui, they attribute them, they think that it was the Portuguese farmers and ranchers who came to Maui who probably brought them. And there was a mayor of Portuguese descent named Elmer Carvalho, and they think he's the one that probably started them, planting so many of them here. But they originally come from Brazil, I understand. And then they spread to South Africa and Mexico, Australia, you know, places like that had these milder climates.
yeah, beautiful. So, Maureen, we were talking about now the Christmas party at the camp, because I'm very interested in that, because it shows the kind-heartedness of people and the giving spirit, which I really hope isn't just a Christmas thing, because these children need help every day. But the fact that you, with the help of many people and much hard work and many miles driven, were able to do this for more than one group of children is just amazing to me. And I'm so happy that in some small way, Patricia and I and other show hosts played a part in making these children happy for once, because their lives are literally miserable.
It's amazing to see how bright and how spirited the children in the camps are, in spite of their circumstances. It's actually, you know, it speaks to us as adults, because when you look at the families, the parents are mostly broken people who have lost everything, have lost all hope of ever having a decent life again, have hit rock bottom and maybe even lower than that. And yet the children still laugh and play and run around, and they don't seem to understand what they're missing out on in many ways. And then in other ways, you will have a child stretch out her hand from her pinky finger to the point of her thumb and measure it against yours to show you what her shoe size is.
Oh.
And, you know, or an elderly person in the camp that will tell you, like, would you please bring me a tea bag? I haven't had tea in years. You know, things like that. So, but the children are very, very bright-spirited. You don't see them looking sad and miserable often. It happens, but they tend to be happy in the circumstances within which they are, even if they have been walking on razor blades. The place that we talk about often, Munseyville, is a landfill that was just flattened, and so the parents there can't put their toddlers down, their babies. At about 5 to 6 months, you start putting your baby on the floor a lot so that it can learn to crawl. Well, they can't do that. And the children that are a little bigger, I mean, in spite of the fact that they dressed in rags and filthy clothes, they still smile and they're still full of happiness and joy. And so when we come around there and you give them a party, you can imagine the level of joy we see then. It's amazing.
Well, I do believe that not only do the children deserve that, I think that you people who are doing this hard work, this heartbreaking work, also deserve to have a smiling, happy day with them, because you know the next day is not going to be like that. So I just think that your hearts must have been equally lightened, and the load on your shoulders must have lightened to be able to bring those smiles and that joy to those children, because honestly, the videos I've seen of those parties and those children's delight, absolute delight, the one little chocolatey face will stay in my heart forever. And Patricia, yes, that face.
Oh my gosh, what a chocolate mess. I mean, I say good for her. That was a wonderful photo.
Absolutely. And don't they look just beaming and so happy, as children should be?
Absolutely. That's just wonderful to see. You know, people always say the indomitable human spirit, but, you know, children are teaching us something there that, you know, the joy of the Lord is our strength. And that's what the Bible says. And I agree with it. And so I think, you know, we need to put that back in and train ourselves to be happy in unhappy circumstances, because I believe that that's what it takes to turn it around. You know, I've been doing all this, you know, neuroscience stuff with neuroplasticity and looking at quantum physics and what the Bible says, and it's all come together. So I'm delighted to see that the children are happy, and you folks were able to put on a nice party for them. I know I don't know how you had anything extra to do, because you folks are already working at 110% every day, and so I don't know how you came up with any more to do.
I am told by the board of South African Family Relief Project that they can see, Patricia, when one of us has done a show and mentioned their donation site, which I've just put in the chat room by request, by the way, but they can see it, because after we've done a show, donations come in. So for me, people like yourself who have really have no real ties to South Africa, but have taken these children and these people's plight to heart, and that they can see that you've mentioned them. And
and we need to pay more attention to it and help get that situation completely turned around.
Yes, we do, but it is so. It makes me cry to know that you or I or John B. Wells just mentions it, and with that comes life-saving funds. Life-saving. I mean, these people, Maureen can tell you more about them because she works with them daily. And I don't know how they do it, because I certainly couldn't. I'd collapse in a little quivering heap and pull a blanket over my head and just stay there. I couldn't.
Well, Karin, if you want me to do the same, keep going on this topic, and I'd be happy to oblige you.
Okay.
You know I do.
Yeah, I know. You and I are not going to cry. This is a Christmas show. So, Maureen, okay, tell us about the party, and tell us about the kids, and tell us something about these huge truckloads of donations that you've received of food that are coming from Durban, etc. I mean, that's just so exciting, especially now at this season.
Well, the party itself, we got all the volunteers that we could muster, and we called the camps in the area closest, and as many of them as we could, and a few other groups of people as well. And we managed to get about 400 children together, as well as volunteers. And I baked cupcakes together with my two little Fosters. We baked cupcakes for a solid week, every day. Oh. And we had masses. The freezers were full, and we got donations that we had put aside also. We had folks donating all kinds of things, cool drink and sweets and all kinds of treats, popcorn, you name it. It was there.
Yes.
And then we had we made use of. There's a mall not far from us, it's called the China Mall. Most of the people who rent there are Chinese, but there were many big open shops. And when I say big, I mean really large. So we managed to get one of those locales, and we used that as an area for them to keep everybody safe and in one space. And we were there from about 10 o'clock in the morning until about 3 in the afternoon. So these kids had a whale of a time because they were on the jumping castles and they were playing games and they were having their faces painted and just basically indulging themselves in whatever their little eyes saw. They feasted on cake, then they had cupcakes, and they had sweets and popcorn and cool drink and these little sour worm sweets, and they had, I cannot begin, ice cream. They had it all. I was wondering whether they were going to be sick eventually.
That's what I was wondering too.
But they had a whale of a time, and then many of the families got to take home a tray of eats with them as well. So and then we had the Christmas gifts were all wrapped and put together, and we had a Father Christmas come, and they had to call Father Christmas, and they had to sing and they had to dance for Father Christmas to come. And then when eventually Father Christmas came, they were all handed their gifts, and the children were just absolutely so thrilled. It really was something to witness. And in spite of the fact that we get very, very tired, and you have an emotional fatigue, because you go into the camps, Karin, and you can only help so many, and you can only do so much, and we have to keep our focus on the children and their well-being, because we do not want to have these children grow up with a mentality of we can sit in a camp and somebody's going to bring us food. We have to try to uplift and see that they get to schools, and see that they have fresh facilities at the camps, and to see that they have the necessary for their schooling. And if they can't get to school, we have to see if we can organize for someone to get the children to school, and so on and so forth. And we cannot be sidetracked by people who keep, people ask questions like, why are they still having children even though they live in a school?
Yes, I've seen that.
And why do they smoke, and why do they drink? These are broken human beings, and all they have are these precious children. It's the only thing in their lives that they could have gotten right was to create another perfect human being with 10 fingers and 10 toes, and a brain that works, and eyes that see, and ears that hear. And then to top it all, it would be blonde and pretty. So it's the only good thing they've ever done. So they will cling to these kids, and they will have more. And yes, they sometimes don't think. That's why we have people who monitor the situations there, and we try to make sure that where we're working in the camps, that the leadership in the camps are the kind of people who are uplifting and who are strong and who can deal with a lot of these social ills that go on in the camps. So very supportive to those people as well. But we cannot get embroiled in the periphery, if you get what I'm saying. We have sympathy for them, but we cannot get embroiled in the periphery. Our focus is to have these children cognitively able to attend school, developed properly, able to learn because they are properly nourished, and able to uplift themselves when the time comes to leave the camps. So we're looking at from birth 18 months to 18 years children. And it's not easy. It really isn't easy. And to be able to do something like this party has given us, I cannot give you an explanation clearly of how it makes us feel. But we actually sleep. We actually sleep. Instead of like Lee does, she sometimes works the most ungodly hours trying to raise funds in the night when America's awake and Australia's awake and
Yes.
you know
Yes.
countries are awake. And the rest of us are snoring away, and she looks like a zombie during the day. And people assume she doesn't do much because they don't see her doing much during the day, but they don't realize she works mostly in the night. And and it's a tireless thing, and it's an absolute passion. It's unbelievable how passionate she is about what she does, and lives very humbly. So yes, it's an incredible feeling to be able to go and really just rest. And now the next preparation we're doing is for next Wednesday, when we will visit all the camps in our area and further out, and we will take food so that there will be food for the first few weeks of January. Then we start with the food for January. So and we're waiting for truckloads coming up from Durban, and we've got quite a few big donations. And my husband and I did the Johannesburg run on Wednesday. We went and collected right across Johannesburg from so many different people. And yes, it's incredible how much we've been helped this year. And it's folks like
I admire your organization because the good you do is, and there are so few of you doing it. You are such a small group of people doing this enormous job, huge job, and you do it so well. And whenever I speak to any of you, you're always smiling, always. I take my hat off to you. If I could give you a private party for the members of your board, I would do that willingly, because really, you people are marvelous. Don't you think so, Patricia?
Oh, absolutely. I just their commitment to what they're doing, and it's astounding. It really is, and how they're doing so much with so little. I mean, I just can't imagine what they could do if they had more funding. They're miracle workers as it is.
You know, Patricia, they got a donation of a freezer. Maureen, correct me if I'm making mistakes here, but I believe it was a refrigerated truck that broke down, and the store did not want the stuff to go rotten in the refrigerated truck, so they said, come and fetch it. Now they had to go and fetch the stuff and spend days taking out what was rotten and packing it into packages that they could hand out to these people. The exhaustion that must have set in by the time they handed out those tons of food it is, to me, just incalculable. I can't imagine doing it.
I want to tell you, it took us 3 days, and we had distributed everything. And in that time, we packed away. I worked through the night with 2 other helpers to take off the outer leaves of cabbages, to take off the dead leaves of some of the stuff. But because the food was mostly organic food, it was incredibly fresh still. So that by the time I think it was the Thursday, and then by the Saturday afternoon, the last group of people called Dolos came to fetch from us, and they were for an old age home. And they sent us photographs of how they served on the Sunday dinners for the elderly. And they said the vegetables were still fresh as if they'd come from out of the fridge. But it was because we were ready, and I'm the backroom girl. I don't do much of the front room stuff. I'm the backroom girl. I'm the one that does the sorting of the clothes. I'm the one that does the packing of the vegetables. I'm the one that does, I'm the backroom lady. And when you organize and you have volunteers that are helpful, but I must admit, we in Pretoria only have like 4 volunteers, eh? So these folk are really dedicated. You have to work with people who are dedicated and really believe in the cause, because you can't be struggling with people who can't be there when you need them to be there. So we did the moment the vegetables arrived, we started lopping off dead leaves and bagging things and packing them up into packages and separating them into piles. Who can get, because we know according to the amount of people in the camp,
Yes.
what to send. And that was an absolute godsend, that load. And then we've now got a contact in Johannesburg at one of the casinos, at the big casinos. There would be a casino. There's a casino, and then there's a mall attached to this casino, and there's a chicken business there. No names, no pectoral, but we get the carcasses with the white meat on.
Oh,
and
soup.
That for the soup and chicken pie.
Oh, wow.
So we have chicken to distribute now. And yes, so this is how it goes. From month to month it differs, but then every time you hear again, I heard about a new place today where there are youngsters who are goodness, I can't think of how to say it. I don't want to use the word retarded, but they are challenged.
Yeah.
And some of them are in wheelchairs, some of them are unable to speak, some of them are really weak, and they're in dire straits. So we're looking at what we can do for that group of people, and they're quite far out, almost in a rural area, and at the back of some store in some dilapidated building. So we need to go out there in haste and go and assess that situation. So there's quite a few places that we can do a lot for, and places that come onto the books. Every week there are new places that pop up that we didn't know about before.
Yes, because nobody knows really how many camps there are, how many people there are in them. There's no counting for them.
Yes, and because of, the numbers fluctuate in the camps as well. People come and go. So sometimes they're fortunate and they manage to find family that will take them in. And then sometimes they're with a family for a while and they come back. Because not everyone is resilient enough to deal with people that are indigent and people who have lost all hope, and people who have no courage anymore. I think the most horrible thing that can happen to anyone is to not only lose their home, but to lose their job and their transport and their possessions, and then to be placed in a situation that you have to take your family to somewhere where you knew you would not want to live there, but you have no choice.
Yes.
To deprive your family of all even if it wasn't a lot that you had before. It must be really heartrending to be in that situation, and people lose courage, and people just don't have the capacity to pick themselves up on their own.
And there's absolutely no counseling available or help for them either, so they have to struggle through it on their own.
No, there isn't. And then, you get just like in any other community, you get all kinds of people. You get unscrupulous people, you get heartless people, you get abusive people in these camps. It happens. And that's why I say we can't get involved in the periphery at all. It's not that we're blind to the social ills, but we feel that you can do a lot through the children.
Yes. You cannot have a whole generation of children uneducated, unfed, undernourished. It's like in the British concentration camps, 20% of the poor population, women, children, and the elderly, died there. You just cannot have that happening again.
Exactly. And also we stand by the fact that we want to care for our own and have the capacity to do so because we did it before and cared for others
Yes.
at the same time. Before the new regime, we were taking care of those folk as well, and so we can do this, and we just need the help.
Yeah, you need the help. We're coming up to a station break. We'll be back. You're listening to Radio Free South Africa on Revolution Radio at freedomsteps.com. This is our Christmas edition, and I would like to play you a song by a really, really good South African friend of mine, now based in Texas. She is an incredible singer, Lisette.
Sleigh bells ring, are you listening? In the lane, snow is glistening. A beautiful sight, we're happy tonight. Walking in a winter wonderland. Gone away, it's the bluebird. Here to stay is the bluebird. He sings a love song as we go along. Walking in the winter wonderland. In the meadow we can build a snowman, then pretend that he is frozen brown. We'll say, are you married? We'll say, no, man, but you can do the job when you're in town. Later on we'll conspire as we dream down the fire. The face unafraid, the plans that we made, walking in the winter wonderland. Play it, snowbird. In the meadow we can build a snowman and pretend that he's a circus clown. We'll have lots of fun with Mr. Snowman until the other kids knock him down. When it snows, ain't no thrilling, though your nose scared the children. We fly and play the Eskimo way, walking in a winter wonderland. We fly and play the Eskimo way, walking in a winter wonderland. Walking in a winter wonderland. Walking in a winter wonderland. Walking in a winter wonderland.
Thank you, Lisette, very much for your permission to use your song. And congratulations on your American citizenship a few weeks ago. And we're back. Maureen and Patricia, both of you know the situation in South Africa. Both of you, in your own ways, work for the situation in South Africa. And I'm sure both of you are equally happy that you contributed to the happiness of these children and to the fact that they can eat this Christmas. Patricia, there were some things that you wanted to ask and wanted to learn from Maureen. So please fire away.
Well, okay, ladies. You know, I know we have a very serious situation here, but
it's Christmas.
I am an overweight middle-aged woman, so please, you have to explain Melva pudding to me.
Oh, really? You haven't had?
Absolutely.
I'll email you some.
Actually, fax it over. I could go for some right now. But here's the thing: all the recipes that I'm finding are all in. Not imperial. What do you call this?
I'll send you.
I don't have the right kitchen utensils for it. You've got to give it to me in American.
I will, because it's all in milliliters and things.
Yes.
Used in South Africa. Maureen, isn't Malva pudding the signature pudding of South Africa?
Oh yes, it is. It goes down with everything.
Absolutely.
It goes down. It goes down. Coffee, it goes down with beer, it goes down with beer shandy.
It goes down hot or cold with custard, with ice cream, with syrup, it is the best. It is a dark brown pudding, very, very sweet. And as it comes out of the oven, you pour a syrup. You prick holes in the pudding with a fork, and you pour the syrup over it as it comes out the oven. So the whole pudding absorbs this syrup, and from top to bottom, it's sticky and moist and sweet and delicious, absolutely delicious.
Yes, I've got four sitting in the fridge, waiting for the next day.
Okay, then you email one to Patricia, please, because it is an absolute communist plot that you haven't had any.
It is. It must be.
It is. It's fascist that you have not had.
Okay, now I'm seeing. Now I went to Pinterest to try to find a recipe, and there's several different ones. I see some with ice cream. That works for me. Mm-hmm. And there's also a yellower syrup. Is that the creme anglaise?
No, that's custard. Now that's another thing that I find very strange. But it's a British thing as custard, but you don't have it here. You can make it from scratch with eggs and milk and sugar, but we use custard powder. It's a kind of you call it corn flour here, sort of corn flour, and sugar and milk. And it thickens like a sauce. You boil it and you have to keep stirring because it'll lump. And it is gorgeous, it's hot or cold. It's absolutely, isn't it the best thing in winter?
Oh, yes.
It's wonderful. Sure. Put custard on any dessert, any warm dessert, or you can even pour it over ice cream. And eat it by the tablespoonful. It's yellow, and it's a sauce, but it's delicious. And you don't have it here. It's amazing to me because it's wonderful stuff.
Good. Well, there's one other one that I think could really turn me on. And tell me, it says it's South African, but I've never heard you mention it, Karin. So here I'm thinking you're my friend, and now I have to reconsider this because you've never mentioned peppermint crisp tart to me.
Oh, but you don't get peppermint crisp? Yeah. Maureen,
no.
You talk about that. Peppermint crisp tart. Oh, man.
Peppermint crisp tart it's a confectionery. It's a peppermint crisp with chocolate coating, and it comes in a slab of 5 blocks, and it's absolutely divine. And we make tarts with that. We use biscuit, and we use custard, and we use cake. I've done so many different types of tart. It's incredible. You can use milk, not condensed milk, the concentrated milk, and you use that with a jelly. And but now jelly for you is jam for us.
Yes.
So Jello. You would use Jello.
Is Jello, yes.
With the concentrated milk, and you would beat that up into almost a mousse, and you would add the pieces of peppermint crisp into that. There's many, many ways. You top it with cream. There's so many ways. But I promise you, Patricia, if I can get an email address, I will send you recipes for both Malta and for the peppermint crisp tart. And then there's also a tipsy tart, a brandy tart, that I will send you the recipes for. Yes.
Oh, well, I'm sure they'll all look good on me, Maureen.
Yeah, and you're keeping very good company as far as the overweight middle-aged woman. I'm just a little more elderly, but I grew up in the imperial system in South Africa, and I think only in imperial system. And so I can convert recipes very easily and send them off to you.
Wonderful. That'll be great. So beach on Christmas. That's people on Maui, that's what we always do. You open your presents if you're going to do the Christmas thing. I used to have a huge Christmas party every year. I mean, 10-foot Christmas tree. I was like the Christmas maven. I don't anymore. I've kind of had a change of heart about my pagan rituals, but It's and then we go off to the beach. So I can picture Christmas in South, but 100 degrees, that's much hotter than it is on Maui this time of year. So, but we do like to go up country. Does anybody go up to the Drakensberg or other elevations to get out of the heat? Is that something you South Africans do?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. But not many people like to. Like for us, we don't leave home because it's just not a nice time to travel. And also, one runs the risk of coming back to an empty home or an invaded home.
Yes.
So
once they
so-
you can't get them out.
yes, so we stay close to what is precious for us. And also, but I must be honest, at this time of the year, we get those crisis calls at 3:30 in the morning where somebody will say, I don't have food for my children. And then, we need to do a home assessment and get a food parcel to the families and so on. So people do tend to have crises at this time of the year, especially after Christmas, the week between Christmas and New Year, and then after New Year. Just after New Year, we get a lot of people in crisis because obviously it's a very heartbreaking time of year. People think back on how things were. People reminisce about the lives they used to have, about what they could do. The camps also are very restricting. People have no freedom because where would they go? They don't get to go anywhere. They're in a camp. And if anything exciting happens, it's when somebody brings a donation, or somebody brings soup, or some gifts handed out. But I think of the life in the camps is very, very sad. Children play with only the children in the camp. School is not fun, those who do get to go to school, because they are looked down upon and ostracized and teased. So, and then the families struggle to get along sometimes because of their differences and the situations that they are in. So camp life is not a walk in the park. And so it's amazing to go into camps and see children laughing and playing. Like children being as resilient as they are, that's how it is. But for us, this time of the year is a very sad time. You get a lot of things happening. People, suicidal, people who just don't have courage to face yet another year of bitter hardship and no real future to look towards. Fathers, I speak a lot with the dads, and if I can get them cornered long enough to actually have a conversation with them, and the mums, and the grannies in the camps. And at this time of the year, they really don't have much to look forward to. So it's sad for us to go there as well. And it's with a heavy heart, but a happy heart that I look forward to. In the week we will be going out to camps and handing over food, knowing that the people will at least have something to tide them over the New Year. But they will not be having big Christmas dinners and biscuits and things that we take for granted. I mean, a file, Karin, box file, that you file documents in. We take the clip out and we fix it to the wall for hooks for people to hang their things on. One wouldn't think of doing something like that. For them, that's a treasure.
Right. Well, Karin and Maureen, I want to invite you folks to an experiment that I'm doing.
Yes.
Would you be game to hear about it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think we need to turn this around. And it seems to me that everything that we're doing so far in the world to get freedom and to expose the people that are against freedom and enslaving our people and killing our people and all the white genocide that's going on, not only in South Africa, but we have soft kill going on other places. But it seems like the more that we wake people up about it, the worse the situation seems to be getting. And so I've just had this paradigm shift, and I've had it for a while. When I first learned about the emotion code, or tried the emotion code, is by Dr. Bradley Nelson, I was completely changed. I mean, I had a couple of things that were stuck, and I didn't realize how stuck I was with those things. But all of a sudden, the grass was greener, the sky was bluer. I kind of understood a little bit more about the universe. And so I've recently come to a place where my Bible background, and my freedom advocacy, the science nerd part of me, and this spiritual seeker intersection has all come together. And I think it's really interesting, and I'm grateful to a chiropractor who's a man named Dr. Joe Dispenza. Karin, I know I've sent you some of his videos, and it's hard to find the time this time of year, especially when you've got grandchildren and everything, to make time for them. But he did something really phenomenal, Maureen. He was a young chiropractor, 24 years old, had a chiropractic business in San Diego, and someplace where he trained in martial arts, had that kind of martial arts training going on, and a yoga studio. Everything was going fabulous. And he was competing in a triathlon. And he got off the swim portion of the triathlon and got on his bike, and the policeman waved him on, but either the policeman wasn't paying attention, or the driver of this Ford Bronco didn't see him, and he was hit by the Ford Bronco and run over. It was an elderly person driving, so they not only hit him broadside, they ran him over. And he crushed 6 vertebrae in his back.
Welcome.
And it was just awful. I mean, the kind of pain. And he was in the hospital. Of course, all the hospital can do, they had their best people looking at it, and they were going to put a steel rod in his back, and then they had that, a wheelchair, and painkillers to look forward to for the rest of his life. And so he struggled with it because he understood why they were saying it professionally, understood. Yeah, and as a matter of fact, if this was one of his patients, he would have probably recommended the surgery too, but he just couldn't get by it. And so he spent 4 days really thinking about it. All of his friends weighed in on it. Only one agreed with him. And he decided that the power that created his body was the same that could heal it. And so he said it was really tough work. He got some folks to send him, to take him home to San Diego. Some friends took him in, and he was laying face down. I mean, he couldn't roll over, couldn't do much. I mean, it was terrible. And he knew he had to get his mind to line up with the genius that our bodies are. Our conscious mind is only 5% of the show. Our subconscious mind is 95% and connected to the universe, connected to the God of Blood River. And so he knew that power could do it. And so he said it was hard, but the bottom line is that in less than 3 months, he was back to walking and living his life, back to being a chiropractor, and absolutely. And he said he promised himself that when he figured it out, that he was going to spend the rest of his life at work figuring it out, studying it, and teaching it to other people. And he has. And it's all done through our minds, not that 5%, but that 95% subconscious. So I'm really putting together a group that wants to see our country free of these parasites that have taken over. Now, I know people have differences of opinion, whether it's the Jews or the Masons or the Vatican or whoever, the Republicans or the Democrats, whoever they think it is. But I think basically we all want freedom again. And that's all the Boers have ever wanted. Is from the history that I see, they've only wanted to be able to rule themselves. Am I wrong or am I right?
You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. They don't want to colonize. They don't want to rule. They don't want, anything to do with it.
Yes, absolutely. And we've never we want this for all people, but we want our people to be left alone. And I haven't got it together yet. I'm still working on how the meditation part goes, how you get this into your spirit man, and so it can manifest, because we have to be the the vibration of what we want. I mean, like if we want money, we have to be that same vibration to bring it into us and to feel like we're worthy and stuff. It's really quite remarkable. And I love what Joe said recently. I'll find it. Let's see. Oh gosh, I gotta look here. Here are my notes. Okay, he says that I love it when he speaks to an audience. He had them turn to each other and say, now turn to the person next to you and introduce yourself as unlimited, powerful, infinitely wise, eternal creator of reality. And that's what we are. You know, I have a friend that's gone through just a horrendous situation where the government has stolen over $2 million, closed his businesses, and for no reason. It's just tyrannical government abuse. That's all it is. And you know, after he read Joe Dispenza's book, he was able to say to me the other night, he says, I can see how I created all this myself. And I go, whoa, that's a pretty heavy place to be when we can understand that we created this reality. So if we know that we created it, then we know we can create what we want.
Yes.
So he said to them, so then tell the person you're no longer going to pretend to be limited, fearful, confused, unhappy, or unworthy anymore. And then tell them that you're a genius. Everything I learn, I will apply for the truth and experience of that information. I love those words. I love what that means. And I'm hoping that we can get a group together and we can produce some materials, especially for the folks, in these camps and the children, so we can be the magnificent creatures and manifest a different reality than what we're looking at right now.
Yes.
Because what we resist persists. And for some reason, fighting against this stuff just makes it be more entrenched from what I'm seeing. So that's been, I mean, you hit the play button. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks, and that's where I'm coming from. So Karin and Maureen, I hope you'll join me in this, and I'll get more information out to you about it. But hey, what have we got to lose? It's free. It's free. We can do this. It doesn't cost anything. It's just our time in learning to discipline our minds, and so we can create what we want.
I see we're coming up to the end of the show. I'd just like to give the donation site one more time. I did put it in the chat room. You can go to their webpage, safrpsa.org. That's South African Family Relief Project, sa.org. Or you can donate to PayPal, Cooks, COOKS for sugar, 595 at yahoo.com. I'd like to thank you two ladies very much for joining us today and discussing what a wonderful Christmas we can have. We have given to some people, but also accentuating the fact that there are many more that we have not been able to help yet. And to play out, thank you very much, ladies, and to let people know, same time, same place next week. And I would like to play out with a song from Tattoo Billy from their album South of Dixie called Praise Him. We are praising God at this time of year for giving us the gift of His Son. And we, Patricia, myself, and Maureen, are praising the God of Blood River and trusting that He is going to turn the situation in South Africa around so that this 1 million+ white people are not going to starve and be helpless. Thank you very much for listening, and please join us next week. Thank you both, Maureen and Patricia.
Once I was a blind man, wandering to and fro. Once I was in sin, out of control. But He reached down and picked me up, poured His Spirit over me, knocked the scales from my eyes, Now I see. Praise Him, praise Him, praise Him, praise Him, praise His holy name. I wasn't sin, but it loved me just the same. Praise Him, praise Him, praise Him, praise Him. Will begin. Till I leave this world, won't you praise His name? Supper little children, come on to me. Lamb's blood is life, you set free. Yes, oh, starving indeed, sick soul and sick